Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to fade a foreground into a background. And so we're going to start off with this here, and we're going to end up with here where you have a graduated fading off of the wooden planks here into the background. This image works best if, or this fade works best if you make sure that your background, your foreground and your background are a similar color. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer 3 times, and I'm just going to knock off the top one because we're going to be working on the middle one for the moment. And I'm going to zoom up here, and what I want to do is I want to get rid of this hard black line that I have between my it's a pop-up background that I was using for this, and with 100% opacity brush I'm just going to paint over that for the moment. And I'm also going to paint this subject here, because on this layer we're going to be doing we're going to be blurring it, and I don't want my blur I don't want the subject to be blurring beyond its outside lines. So taking the color that's closest to the edge of it, to the color I'm painting, I'm just going to keep sampling, and I'm just going to paint over that with a soft brush. Not that one. And when that's completely gone, I'm just going to have a look and just even it up a little bit. I'm going to change the opacity of my brush and even it up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to start my blur. So I go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I find that a blur of around 60 pixels is fine, but it just depends on what size your picture is. So just slide the slider up and down and you can see, well, how much of a fade do you want. Okay, so I would say, yeah, sort of around 60 or 70. Okay, so once I have that, I'm going to click on the top layer now, and I'm going to make a mask on that layer. And on that mask I'm going to start painting with a black brush at 100% opacity, sorry, a black brush, and I'm just going to start painting over there. Now just on that line between the foreground and background I'm going at 100%. Just to, I have to be very careful at the edges where it meets the subject. But if you make a mistake, you can just go back over, you can just switch your colors around and start painting with a white brush. So you don't have to worry too much if you make a mistake, it's always going to be fixable. And make my brush a bit bigger. And then you have to think about where you want the fade to start, where it's going to be most realistic. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure with the white brush now at 100% opacity, I'm just going to make sure that I haven't gone over any of that. So just tidy that up a little bit, and on the string here just make sure that's tidy. Now I'm going to move to a 50% opacity brush, and I'm going to run along these lines here with 50%, just to get that fade nice and gradual so it's not a harsh line. And the same on the other side. Actually, I'll bring that back up a little bit. Okay. So once you're happy with it, then you can, once you're happy that it's faded nicely between the foreground and the background, you can flatten it down. Now I noticed a little unevenness of color over here, so I'm actually going to use the dodge tool for this. I'm going to set it to mid-tones, exposure. Here I have it 11%, I think that's fine. And the dodge tool will just lighten up the areas. Or alternatively, you can use this lighten up action here that I have. So if I run that and it says take a white brush and paint over the areas you would like to lighten. So I'm going to take my white brush and I'm going to put it to 100%, and just on those dark areas I just want to even up the colour. lighter. And in this picture I can see that the baby looks a little bit blue for my liking, so I'm going to flatten that down, and I'm going to run this action that I have here called A Little Warmth. And I'm actually going to, because the whole thing has gone kind of yellow looking, I'm going to fill that up entirely with black, and I'm only just going to I'm going to paint in at 100% opacity back in the skin, sorry, with white. I'm going to paint in just over the baby's skin. And so here's the before picture here, and here's the after.